we're live. MOP microphone check, MOP microphone check. We're live here with my man, Eddy the Negro from Lockdown Wizards. Eddy, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we're gonna talk today about the Washington Wizards. You obviously are the host of the Lockdown Wizards. It's a great podcast. I highly recommend everyone that's watching to go check that out. They put a great content. Obviously, the main platform is Lockdown NBA, right?
Yes, it's Locked On NBA, Locked On Wizards. We do episodes 5 days a week. Sometimes we do weekend game episodes as well.
Yeah, that's great. You're obviously wearing a Washington Commanders hat. They didn't make the playoffs, but we got a great match. Yes, tomorrow, no, Saturday and Sunday. So it's gonna be great. An NFL season. The playoffs are here. So today we're gonna be talking about the Washington Wizards. Man, how would you assess the last 2 years for the Washington Wizards?
We've just been on a treadmill of being right outside of the play-in. Building around Bradley Beal. It's just they're trying to make it work, but it hasn't worked out so far. They've been retooling. They brought in a guard and Spencer Dinwiddie. That didn't work out this year. They made a good trade for Porzingis, and they brought in Monte Morris and Will Barton, and they're still below 500. They're still outside of playing right now. Bradley Beal has been hurt. He hasn't played. He's been in and out of the lineup this year. Just looking at the standings right now, they're 12th right now. They're 2 games out of the 10th spot in the play-in. So it's a treadmill of trying to make the play-in, trying to make the playoffs as that 8th or 9th or 10th seed, and they're failing to do that right now. And right now they have a tough decision before the trade deadline whether they're going to keep Kyle Kuzma or trade him. Whether he wants to be here or not. They have to have a legitimate conversation with him. So they're just in a tough spot. They're just in the middle purgatory spot of the league right now. The Eastern Conference is getting better. You got good teams like Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Brooklyn, Cleveland, the Knicks, all those the Miami Heat, all those teams. You can look at those teams. They're clearly ahead of the Wizards right now. So they're just in a middling treadmill spot right now in the Eastern Conference in the NBA.
Yeah, man. The answer you gave me purgatory. That's a great way to put it. Last year they finished 12th, if I'm not mistaken, in the Eastern Conference Finals. They didn't make the playoffs. You mentioned the new pieces that they have added to this team, Monte Morris. How was it for you and obviously the fan base there in DC? Going from John Wall and Bradley Beal to Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, now to Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, Kuzman, you mentioned Hachimura. They had a lot of young players there.
Yeah, Monte Morris has played pretty good the last couple of games. He had a double-double the other night against the Warriors. He had a slow start. Same thing with Will Barton. Will Barton, it just hasn't worked out. He's collected a lot of DNPs. Coaches do not play decision. Or do not participate. Right now, there's teams that do have trade interest in Will Barton before the trade deadline. Monte Morris, I think he's played a lot better. He still can't really get to the rim, but he has a really good mid-range shot, and he looks more confident out there handling the ball. I think when Bradley Beal doesn't play, he has more opportunities to shoot the ball. His usage goes up. He's more aggressive when Brad doesn't play. Sometimes I'm not going to say that like last year we had a guard last year who was more aggressive when Brad didn't play, but. The additions they made. Kuzma's played really well this year. There's some games where he takes a lot of tough shots. The Warriors, he shot 5 for 20. He struggled, but then the night before against the Knicks, he had 40 points. So his game has been a little erratic, but I think he's played at an all-star level at times for sure. Porzingis has had a really good season. Against the Warriors, he had 30 points. I thought they didn't give him the ball enough in that game. Nobody could really check him. Draymond couldn't check him. Looney couldn't stop him. So sometimes we just don't feed the hot hand enough. And you talked about Rui as well, or you brought up Rui. Rui's been good offensively, but of course on the defensive side of the ball, we just want to see more from him. We want to see more awareness from him. But overall, the team has talent. The Wizards do have talent on the roster. It's not a team that lacks talent. Like I said, Porzingis, he's a unicorn, man. He's a guy that can really fill it up and score. And Kuzma, he can get high too, and he's clutch. He's clutch as well. He had a game winner the other night. When it wasn't the Knicks, I think it was the Bulls. He had a game winner. He had a game-winning 3 against the Bulls, where Zach LaVine decided to shoot a 2-pointer when they needed a 3-pointer. But yeah, they've had their good moments. And there's been some times the Wizards went on they had a 5-game win streak. They had a 10-game losing streak. They had a 3-game winning streak. They've just been actually, and Bradley Beal just announced today that Bradley Beal is expected to play against the New York Knicks tonight.
Yeah, so I received the notification too.
Yeah.
So that's great, man. But Bradley Beal is back in the lineup. The coach is Wes Unseld Jr., right?
Yes, it is Wes Unseld Jr.
He is his first year, right, in the organization.
This is his second season.
Oh, last year he was there.
Yeah, last year he was there. We started off 10-3. We had a hot start with Wes. Everybody was celebrating. A couple guys got some contract extensions, and then after that, it just went downhill. And the chemistry was bad. A lot of bickering in the locker room. I thought Wes struggled with policing the locker room and managing egos. And then we had a game. I don't know if you heard about where we were up by 35 points against the Clippers, and the Clippers came back and won that game.
Wow, that's crazy. We've seen a lot of comebacks during these days. The 3-point shoot, and obviously team not doing the correct adjustment is leading to comebacks more and more. Do you think that he can stay there as a coach and build a foundation with the team?
It's going to be an uphill battle for Wes because you just look at the Eastern Conference. It's just a tough conference. For one, defensively, the team has regressed, but I think they played better this year. They're getting some guys. Personnel has to be better as well. DeLon Wright, he's a guy that is a defensive-minded guy. Jordan Goodwin is a guy who's a defensive-minded guy. We don't have a lot of those guys on the roster. Denny Avdia has some defensive versatility as well. But just defensively, I thought we regressed since the previous regime. It hasn't really got much better since Scott Brooks defensively. I think Wes is still getting the feel of managing egos and just being a leader of men and a leader of a locker room. There's a lot of times where we lose leads and collapse leads. There in the beginning of the year, I think he's still learning. We were doubling stars. We were doubling Kevin Durant. He was killing us. Doubling James Harden. He was killing us. We gave up a lot of threes in the beginning. I remember the Pacers game. They went nuclear. Buddy Hield was hitting a bunch of threes, and we were playing zone and doubling against teams that can shoot threes. So I think he stopped doing that. But still, defensively, we struggle. I mean, you're not going to stop Steph, and Jordan Poole's just going to go nuclear some games. They let us up. Last game we played against the Warriors, both of those guys combined for about 70 points. Jordan Poole had maybe 30, 40. Steph was in the 30s. The last game we played against the Warriors. So yeah, just defensively, I want to see this team improve. Offensively, Wes is a slow, methodical guy. That's how he was with the Nuggets as an assistant coach. They don't want to push the pace. He wants to slow down and take care of the ball at each possession. I want to see him push the pace. Want to see the team better defensively and better ball movement as well. But, we do have to have some guys healthy. Bradley Beal's got to stay healthy. If this team wants to go anywhere, then, the guy that you just paid, $250 million, he's got to be healthy, man. He's got to be available. And he's going to have to step up and lead the team to victory in these games. He's going to have to be the deciding factor whether they win or lose. And there's been some games where you do want to see Bradley Beal finish games in a clutch. And some of the last minute of the game play calling too. It's you want to see some other plays develop. The Clippers game. I know you didn't see that. I'm not sure if you saw that one either. But Porzingis took a tough shot. There's a lot of times in the games where some of the inbounds plays, we're usually getting close to 5-second violations during Wes Unseld Jr.'s tenure here. So in the rotations, you can always question somebody's rotations, but feeding the hot hand, there's some games where Rui is hot and he'll take him out. So, or there's times where we need defense and Denny's on the bench. So I still think Wes is still going through that learning process as a head coach. And he said it before that it's different. It's definitely totally different from being an assistant coach for sure, obviously. And I think he's still, kind of getting through. Coaches have to develop as well. And I think he's still developing as a coach.
Yeah, and one factor that you mentioned, that besides being an X's and O's guy, as a coach in any team of the league, you also need to be a leader of the team and managing egos. That's a great point that you made. Obviously, the Wizards have 3 players averaging more than 20 points. They got Kuzma 21.6, Porzingis 22.2, and Bradley Beal 22.9. The last couple of years, Bradley Beal has been scoring a lot. Obviously, I think he went over 30 for a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did. He finished second in scoring, right behind Steph. The year we went to the playoffs with Russell Westbrook, he averaged over 30. The year before that, he averaged over 30 points as well.
Yeah, and that's a great trivia question because for some reason in my mind, I thought that Bradley Beal had won a scoring title, but he has not won a scoring title, right?
No, he was very close. Him and Steph were going back and forth. I think Brad was leading the league in scoring for a bit, and then Steph got hot, and he got the scoring title that year.
So, do you think that maybe this year Bradley Beal is scoring 22 points? Do you think that maybe that's how can I say that, a recipe to get into the playoff or to get there, or do you think that the Wizards need need Bradley Beal to score 30 points a night?
I think it's better when he's not forced or having to carry the team on his back and put up 30. Because there's numbers and stats that show when he scores over 30 that the Wizards have a losing record, or when he scores 40 they have a losing record. So I think it's better when it's more of a balance tag, and that's a big reason why they brought Porzingis and they brought in Kuz. If you listen to the Wizards game, they're called a big three. I call them a solid three. I don't think they're a big three, but I think they're a darn good three. They're a darn good trio, where they all can go off for 20. There's nights where Kuz will go off for 30, he'll go off for 40, or there's nights where Porzingis can put up 30, put up 40. He put up 40 on the Timberwolves. There's nights where obviously where Bradley Beal can go for 30 and 40, but the best basketball for them is being balanced. When they move the ball and they're balanced, they have a balanced attack. That's when they're at their best. And you don't want to put too much pressure on Brad, but Brad at the same time, like I said, I mean, he's the leader of the team, so he has to step up. But the big thing with me for Brad is finishing games. Whether he puts up 12 points or 30 points, I just want to see him finish games. So that's one of the things that I want to see from him is those last second shots or the last second decision making, where there's times where he turns the ball over, he'll dribble the ball off his foot. That's one of the things that the Hornets game, he had a great game. Quarters 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 towards the end of the game, he had a great game, but in the last 30 seconds of the game, turnovers and missing shots, that's where I want to see him improve on for sure. And I think he's a guy that has been clutch in the past, but there's a lot of times where he's definitely turned the ball over in a clutch or dribbled the ball off his foot. But to answer your question, yeah, I definitely think it's better when they have a balanced attack.
Yeah, and obviously he's a shooting guard. He's not a point guard, even though he's almost leading the team in assists. He is averaging 5.2, and Monte Morris is averaging 5.4. So he's helping distributing the assists, obviously, around the team. If I'm not mistaken, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, so my question to you is, obviously, foreseeing the future, do you think that maybe, in your opinion, do you see Bradley Beal finishing his career in Washington?
It's a tough question. I don't know just yet, because we'll see. I got to see how this offseason goes. If they can get another guy in here, another legitimate star in here, a disgruntled star, maybe a point guard, I think that could help him stay. But it's going to be tough. It's a 5-year contract. You don't see a lot of guys finish out their contracts. I know it's reportedly said he wants to be the Dirk Nowitzki of the Wizards, where he stays throughout his whole career. We'll see if the Wizards ever win a championship, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I just don't. It's a good question, but I just can't. I can't give an answer to that. So we'll see. If they keep losing like they are right now and not making the playoffs, then yeah, I don't see him staying. But if they can win and make a legitimate playoff run, then sure, I could definitely see him staying and finishing out his contract. But if not, then I could see him trying to join forces with a childhood friend and Jason Tatum. The Lakers reportedly have interest, as the Lakers always have interest in anybody. Some of his family or his wife is from California, if I'm not mistaken. So I could see him definitely, if things don't work out in DC, I could see him asking to be traded to Los Angeles. So those are just some places I could certainly see where he would request to be traded. And if the Wizards want to trade him to the Thunder or something like that, then he'd probably veto the trade. He'd probably deny the trade. That's just an example of a place, or Orlando, if they're willing to give the Wizards picks or a rebuilding team, or some other team that's trying to compete, maybe the Blazers or something like that, I think he would, and he would team up with Damian Lillard. I think that if that was a scenario, I think he would deny the trade as well.
Yeah, he's the only player in the NBA that has a no trade clause. We have heard a lot of the rumblings surrounding the league. As you said, him going to the Lakers. The Lakers, as you said, they always want a superstar. They have a great relationship. I haven't thought about the Jason Tatum connection. Maybe he can end up in the Celtics, but maybe we never know. Maybe when Bayama can land in Washington, that would be great.
It would him or Scoot Henderson, either one. To be honest with you, I like this class as well. I was watching a young guy named Keontae George from Baylor. I like him too. I mean, so I like this class a lot. But Victor would be a heck of a pick, and Scoot Henderson would be a heck of a pick as well.
Yeah, honestly, Scoot is a very shifty point guard, very athletic, and he can be a great piece to any team in the league. Another question that I have for you, the whole Kyle Kuzma situation, we also have heard the rumblings going him to the Lakers. Today, I read some reports that the Washington Wizards are seriously considering re-signing him during the summer. What do you think maybe would be the perfect scenario for the Wizards?
A great scenario. I would love to see Kuzma come back, but I got to be realistic in thinking what's better for the team. If Kyle Kuzma is not sure or 100% sure about him coming back and re-signing with the Wizards, and the Wizards before the trade deadline lose 5 games and they're really falling out of the standings, then they need to make a move and get value for Kuz. Kuz is a valuable asset. There's a lot of playoff teams that have interest in Kuz. The Suns have interest in Kuz, reportedly. I want to say the Hawks have interest in Kuz, reportedly. The Knicks have been named. There's a bunch of playoff teams that have been named that even the Lakers are trying to trade for Kuz as well. There's a bunch of teams that are playoff contention. The Lakers aren't. They're kind of in playoff contention. They've been inconsistent this year, but there's a lot of teams that have legitimate interest in Kyle Kuzma. The Mavericks reportedly as well. And you can get some assets from these teams. You could get 2 first-round picks, maybe 1, definitely at least 1. But I feel like you could get 2 in a solid player, or 1 first-round pick and a solid young player. So Kuz is a valuable guy. We've seen the Wizards kind of be slow with decision-making. They had offers on the table for Davis Bertans. They decided to keep Bertans. And unfortunately, Bertans didn't work out. His trade value went down, and that turned into a bad contract. But Kuz is looking for $20 to $25 million per year, which he deserves, man. I think he's earned it. I think he's played really good ball this year. And last year, he played really well when Brad went down as well. So Kuz is a good rebounder. He's a good scorer. He can get past. He's very versatile. I mean, he can get down to the basket. He can get downhill. But yeah, if we're up to me, just looking at the standings right now, if we keep losing games for the trade deadline, then they need to be sellers at the deadline. They need to see what they can get, because Kuz, I know he wants to get back to winning. He won the championship at LA. I know he wants to get back to a legitimate contender in the NBA. And he's a big market guy. He likes fashion and different things like that. He likes kind of being in the spotlight. So there's reports that he wants to be in a bigger market. It's unfortunate that DC is not a bigger market, because you would think the city of DC would be a big market, but it's just not in basketball right now at the moment. So yeah, it's just if he really doesn't want to be here, then I think it's time to find a trade partner for Kyle Kuzma. So he can be in a situation where he has a chance to win an NBA championship, and the Wizards have a chance to get assets for the future.
Yeah, obviously that's a great point. He likes fashion. The other night, if I'm not mistaken, against the Knicks, he had his own bobblehead night.
Yeah, he did a pink sweater. Yep.
Man, that's crazy, man. But I have to give him credit for wearing that shit. I have to give him credit, man. Not everyone is gonna pull up to the arena wearing that pink sweater with the long ass. That was crazy, man. That's gonna be iconic. We remember Iverson with the baggy pants, the baggy suits. We're gonna remember Kyle Kuzma, man, and obviously this is a side note, but Jeremy Sohan, he's fighting for Kuzma place at the top of the fashion community.
Yeah, he got the Dennis Rodman haircut going on right now. Yeah, and
with the hair, yeah.
Yeah, Kuzma's girlfriend is a model. Her name is Winnie Harlow. So she's Hollywood as well. Kuzma, he's a Hollywood he's a humble guy, but he definitely has some Hollywood in him for sure.
Yeah, he's from
Detroit. He's from Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, Flint, from Flint.
Yeah, Flint. Yep, Flint, Michigan.
Flint.
Yep.
So great. Yeah, I forgot that he also has a girlfriend that's a supermodel.
Mm-hmm.
So great for him that he can maybe find a bigger market, as you mentioned. And it is sad that Washington, obviously, is the U.S. capital, right? Doesn't have a great market.
Yeah, it's like that for football as well. It's just the teams have been, the Wizards, we haven't gotten past the second round since 1979. Wes Unseld Jr.'s dad was the last time we won a championship in 1978. And he's the coach of the team now. And that was, 40 years ago, 30 years ago? I'm not good at math, but it was like 40 years ago now. 1978 is 2022. Might be 50. Yeah, 50 years ago. I mean, that's a long time. It's a long time coming. And you haven't made it out of the second round. There's teams that have been bad, like the Sixers, they went through the trust the process. Of course, they went to the, finals with Allen Iverson. There's almost every team you can name. Even the Kings got past the second round with Chris Webber in 2002. And the Kings have been, bad, historically bad for the last 20 years. And you look at us, we haven't even gotten past the second round.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Clippers, I guess. The Clippers.
Yeah, Joel Embiid hasn't got past the second round too, right?
Yeah, he never has.
7 years in the league and you have not got into the Eastern Conference Final. Even Trae Young got there. It's crazy.
Right. Yep.
It's crazy. Yep. It's crazy. The next question that I have for you, what's your opinion? Are you excited for the Jordan documentary on the Wizards?
I am excited. It's unfortunate that they never made the playoffs with Michael Jordan. Of course, you think about Kwame Brown as well, because Michael Jordan was a general manager type of guy with the Wizards where he made decisions. That didn't work out. They traded away Richard Hamilton as well. Richard Hamilton went to the Pistons and started to won a championship with the Pistons. MJ was great here, had a 51-point game. But they just never won they never went to the playoffs with Mike. It's crazy that they never did. The roster wasn't great either. And the way it ended in DC wasn't great for Mike either, to be honest with you. But I'm intrigued to see how it went. I know it's not going to be as cool as The Last Dance, of course, but it will be interesting to see, how things went in DC for Mike, for MJ.
Yeah, and obviously the mindset of Michael Jordan, who was past his prime, dealing with a lot of young kids, as you mentioned, Kwame Brown was one of them. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. So I'm also excited. I'm ready to watch that documentary. As you mentioned, no way in hell is going to be better than the Last Dance. Come on, man, that's untouchable. Yeah. So you mentioned Kwame Brown. I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch the Pivot podcast where he did an interview.
No, I saw Kwame Brown's podcast last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was very popular, but I haven't seen any of Kwame Brown in probably the last year, to be honest with you.
He has been a sensation, right, on YouTube.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, Kwame Brown, no bust, like something like that, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's crazy, and obviously, in that interview, with the Pivot, he's talking about his days with the Wizards. The one thing that I like that he said that I didn't took that shit personal. Mm-hmm. Jordan was a tyrant with everybody, so I didn't take that personal. So that's great from seeing that Kwame Brown is doing great. What do you think about the whole situation between Gilbert Arenas and Kwame Brown?
I didn't follow it a lot, to be honest with you. So I just don't know much about it. I did see they were going back and forth with each other and arguing. I didn't, some of the stuff I didn't look at. I did see the John Wall interview yesterday with Theo Pinson talking about when he got traded, but the whole Kwame Brown and Gilbert Arenas beef thing, I just didn't follow much of it.
Yeah, Kwame Brown during that interview with the Pivot, he mentions that he's not gonna give an opinion about someone who wanted to put a gun on his throat.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes deep onto that. That's the type of a person or people that we don't want in the Black community, obviously. and I think that's very very sad that two teammates, obviously they are not friends, but they are battling on the internet, and Arenas is a knucklehead, man. You don't mess with Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, I
You
love
don't
Gil
mess.
Zero. I love Gil. They actually did a bobblehead night for Gilbert as well. The
Yeah, I
big three
remember
with
it.
Karan and Anton. They did a tribute to those guys not too long ago when they played the Miami Heat.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. That was great. Gilbert Arenas was great during the Washington Wizards year, dropping
He was.
60 against Kobe. He was also known as Hibachi. So it was great, man. It was great. He has a podcast too, right?
Yeah, he does. He
With
has.
Josiah.
I'm not sure who his co-host is, but I know it comes on Fubo TV, the Fubo app, because I got Fubo cable. But yeah, Gilbert Arenas, I think if it's not the Chill Gill, no Chill
No
Gill
chill.
podcast. And Gilbert definitely says some stuff that, he's very opinionated, as we all know. He's definitely a funny guy, very animated and very opinionated. He's definitely whatever he thinks, whatever he has on his chest, he's not scared to say anything that whatever he thinks, he's not scared to say it at all.
Yeah, obviously I'm a fan of international players. Sometimes Gilbert be hating on Giannis, man. Sometimes he sounds like a buffoon. But it's entertaining.
It
It's
is, yeah.
entertaining
I
for
love
sure.
Giannis, man. Giannis is a menace. He is a beast. He had 55 on the Wizards 2 weeks ago, not too long ago. I'm surprised that was his career high. I
Yeah,
could have sworn he had 60. Donovan Mitchell got 71. Giannis could easily get 71 in a game. I think before Giannis retires, I think he'll definitely get 70 points in the game. I think it's definitely, or at least 65.
yeah.
Is certainly doable for Giannis.
We need to see a performance like that. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
I'm a Jokic fan. I'm a Giannis
Yeah.
fan. So hopefully we can see excel in the playoffs. Giannis has already won a championship. We need to see Joker do his thing. So maybe we can see Joker win a third time MVP. So that would be great. Yeah, you mentioned the interview with Theo Pinson, the Dallas
Mhm.
Mavericks player.
Mhm.
John Wall, what do you think about when he said that I learned that I was getting traded from a Russell Westbrook message? Do you
Mhm.
think that maybe that's a shout to the front office
Oh,
at that
definitely. Yeah. I mean,
time?
yeah, definitely. He said Tommy Shepard and Ted Leon said they lied to him about the trade. And he said Tommy Shepard went on the radio and said that him and Brad talked and they were fine. And John said that was lies. He also said that he talked to Brad about running it back and playing with each other the next year. And Brad said he had to think about it. So it's unfortunate hearing that. Thinking that Brad and John are such good friends. That you had to think about whether playing again with John Wall. That was unfortunate to hear. But he said him and Brad were such good friends. But I knew that there was going to be a time for the Brad and John duo to come to an end, that they just had to rebuild and retool. But the way that the front office handled it, not telling him that he heard from a direct message, and John said it's a business as well.
Yeah,
But you hate to hear how things transpired and how things ended in DC, especially the things that John did for the city and for the team. He was there for 10 years. You look at the Wizards roster and their team before John was drafted. I like Andre Blatch, but the team was Blatch, Nick Young, Gilbert
Nick
Arenas.
Young.
Yeah, Nick
Damn.
Young, Gilbert Arenas after the gun incident. It was a very toxic environment. They were a bad team. And when John got there, JaVale McGee was on the team as well. I like JaVale a lot. He's had a decorated career, but that team was a bad team. It was a bad roster. And there's a reason why they had the number one pick that year, and they got John Wall. And John Wall changed that team. He changed the city. He made Wizards basketball relevant. He got them to the second round multiple times, which I know, which isn't, a glorious thing. But for Wizards basketball, getting to the second round is definitely an accomplishment for sure. And he did a lot of things off and on the court. So he said Brad was very upset about, I know he played a card game when he was on an interview and he threw the gang signs and whatnot. He said Brad was very upset about that. So I kind of was hoping that they would have had, more of a conversation and things could have ended better.
Yeah.
And that the front office could have been more transparent with Bradley, with John Wall. But, it's a business, and that's how front office and managers, that's how they do business sometimes. It's a tough business. You hate to hear that and see that. But You know, I hated it, and I'm happy that John came back to DC with the Clippers and he had a good game. I went to that game, and John said it was my city when he stood on the table against the Celtics. He did the same thing almost, and the crowd was getting hyped. So the DC really still has a lot of love for DC. I mean, DC still has a lot of love for John Wall. The whole DMV still has a lot of love for John Wall, and I'm a big John Wall fan.
Yeah, he had a great time there. Obviously, had a great time with the community there. He also mentioned that the 2017 Wizards would have been the cap. Do you call cap or no cap on that?
It's a tough one, man. They gave the Cavs a run for their money in the regular season. They really did.
Yeah, it was very close, right? The games.
Yeah, very close. They beat the Cavs in Cleveland one time, and then Braun hit a crazy backboard shot against the Wizards. That was ridiculous. Would they have beaten the Cavs? It's tough to say because I mean LeBron can just go off and dominate. And it's a 7-game series. I definitely could have. I could definitely see it going to 7. Now I hate that they didn't finish their business against the Celtics, a team that I thought they were better than on paper. But Isaiah Thomas, mighty IT, being 5'9", he had a heck of a series, and you know, so I just hate the woulda, coulda been stuff because the Wizards franchise. We're a bunch of woulda, coulda been stuff with the Wizards all the time. We should have drafted this guy. If somebody didn't get hurt, we would have did this. We're just the most woulda, coulda been type of franchise. But I love John, and I think there's some truth to what he said. But of course, we'll never find out because they didn't take care of business against the Celtics. I think if I had to bet money, unfortunately, I do think it would have went to 7 games. And if it goes to 7 games, it's tough to beat LeBron in Game 7 in Cleveland, and you know you got the refs you got the refs out there too that definitely have a friendly whistle for LeBron. So I think it would have been tough. I think it would have went to 7. I don't know if it would have went in the Wizards' favor.
Yeah, and obviously at that time LeBron was a monster. Nowadays he's a great player, but at that time it was from another level. You got the Wizards winning today at Madison Square Garden.
I actually do not. Every time I say they're gonna lose, they end up winning. Every time I say they're gonna win, they end up losing by a lot. So you know I'm a reverse jinx. So I think they're gonna lose. But you know what? Bradley Beal's coming back. We'll see how they play. But the Knicks are good, man. Julius Randle has been really good this year. Brunson, my goodness. Brunson has been really good, man. He's been on a tear this year. RJ Barrett is back healthy. Mitchell Robinson is good at boarding and playing defense. The Knicks have a darn good team, man. They're 25-20, so it's going to be tough to win there. It really is.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. That's going to be today at Madison Square Garden. The Washington Wizards are going to have Bradley Beal back in the lineup. We'll see what happens. Maybe he'll still need some more games to get into the rhythm. Maybe he will look like Curry, like some rusty. You never know when a player is coming back from an injury. But that was it, man. My man, Eddy, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, man.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's been a blast.
So thank you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that's gonna be that's watching this stream live and are gonna be watching it later on my YouTube channel. So once again, thanks to Eddy del Negro. Thank you so much. We never know. Maybe we'll have you from another day. Maybe in the playoffs when the Wizards can get into the playoffs.
Oh, definitely, yeah, 100%. I hope they do make the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So I'm Mario, and this has been MOP Podcast, the Mario Grande Podcast. So until next time, see ya.